What's good, folks? Welcome to an early morning edition of the Cover One Film Room, the show that gives you the hows and the whys behind both the good and the bad of the Buffalo Bills. I'm one of your two hosts, Anthony Prohaska, joined as always by Eric Turner. Adding the early morning thing threw me off from my normal rhythm for the intro. And Eric,
You did.
we are, as always, a get out of rhythm and routine. We sit here with the Buffalo Bills having a very impressive victory against the Kansas City Chiefs, a longtime rival of them, a team that, and I think a game that was very much a measuring stick for kind of national media potentially, and a lot of the fan base. You know, the Bills come out of the bye week, they pound Carolina, but Carolina's kind of meh. Although maybe not, because they just beat the Packers, and the Packers are a pretty good team. So the Bills pound Carolina, but I think a lot of fans were waiting to see, okay, Carolina, cool. Let's see what happens against Kansas City. Kansas City was on the rise. They were starting to peak a little bit. The Bills, maybe so, maybe not. The Bills come out, look really good on both sides of the ball, especially the defensive side from a creativity standpoint.
Yeah.
We're going to dive into a bunch of that in this episode and really kind of wrap up and put a bow on a really impressive performance from this Bills team. But before we do that, how you doing? How you feeling? How's it going?
Good, man. As you can see, I'm not in the typical studio. I'm actually on the road in San Diego visiting family. And of course, this last night was our first night here. And so our kids, jet lagged and all, they got up at 3:30 in the morning. So we've been up for a few hours already. And our plan, obviously, for the show was to go live, pretty early. And so I was ready for that, but I was not ready for 3:30 a.m. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, I'm excited, man. It's a little different episode as far as, the time and everything. So we appreciate everyone joining us, but we didn't want to bypass or skip this episode, of course, because how important this game was, as you said, a barometer game. And I thought the Bills on both sides of the ball brought their A games when we're talking the creativity, but also the execution by the players.
Yeah, the offensive side, I think, was more like wrinkles and tweaks and layers and to what they've already done, which is still cool to see, but kind of, I mean, I know a lot of people are down on Joe Brady, but I kind of think it's par for the course for Brady. Like, I think his layering and tying things together and building on things has been good over the years, and maybe kind of ebbs and flows a bit. But I really came away impressed with the defensive side. This game very much, we've talked so much about the Bills defense, especially last year, was like, okay, we're going to come out, we're going to be who we are each game, and then we'll see what the offense is going to be. We'll adjust and go from there.
Okay.
I felt like this game plan was very much tailored to Kansas City, whether it was, the odd mirror stuff, which we've seen for forever, but the type of games they were playing up front, the rush patterns, tying things in between rush and coverage, all the dime personnel usage. Their usage on the year is 14.4%. In the game against Kansas City, they were at like 43%, and that's still with backup DBs in there. This game plan felt very matchup specific, Kansas City specific, where they had an idea in mind of what they wanted to be defensively to combat what Kansas City was offensively. And yeah, the creativity was there, the game plan was there, but the execution was there really on both sides of the ball. But the defensive side was one that really got me, considering what they're missing on the interior defensive line, what they're missing in the secondary, and then being able to tie all that together from the front end to the back end was really impressive. Not to gloss over the offense, but yeah, the defense really got me.
No, and this episode is going to be defense heavy. I'll tell you that right now, because a lot of the clips I pulled were from that side of the ball. And as you said, because of the creativity, because of the personnel groupings, because of the offense and Mahomes and how they were, what they were kind of humming. They were starting to come along, as you said, and the speed and all of those, factors in this game really led to such a creative game plan, and they executed it perfectly when it came down to muddying up coverages, making it look similar to other coverages, rolling into different variations of said coverage, the pass rush plans, the creativity of those stunts and games, but also the pass rush lane integrity and ability to contain Mahomes. This was one of those games, there was a lot of connectivity, rush and coverage when you go back and watch it. But I will say this was one of the first games this year where really it was the coverage that set up the rush. And don't get me wrong, they pressured and they hit Mahomes, but primarily because of how good the coverage was, how much the picture changed for Mahomes from pre to post snap, getting him to hold on to the ball so that the pass rush could get home and get home often.
Yeah, so much of the talk going into this game was, how much Mahomes, and rightfully so, Mahomes is shredding zone coverage. Like, you got to play man. Can the Bills play man? Should they? Yada, yada, so on and so forth. But I thought they just did a good job of mixing up man coverage elements with some match coverage stuff. But even their regular, like, more spot drop zone stuff, they were still kind of attaching more often than not. You had guys flying to bodies. There was so much, we've talked about it again on the show in negative ways leading up to this game, especially going into the bye. There was so much just like covering grass early on in the year. And this felt like they were covering bodies more so than they were covering grass. And you saw Mahomes, to your point, and to kind of, the rush being, the beneficiary of the coverage, you saw Mahomes drop and go to look to number one and it's not there, and go to look for number two and it's not there. And then, number three is coming open, but the rush is already getting there because the coverage did its job. And now the rush gets to work in tandem with it. I thought they did such a good job of getting him off of his first and even second reads in the progression. To James's point, he says, was it just me or did Mahomes look confused at times? Yeah, he's made a killing off of knowing what's going to happen post-snap because of his ability to ID pre-snap. And the Bills' disguises, they had a couple fun coverage spins in this one. And between that, the dime usage, having, 4 defensive linemen in the game, 1 linebacker, and then 3 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, marrying the odd mirror stuff with some spikes and stunts and the coverage pieces on the back end. Again, it was all very tailored, very creative. And, I do agree with you. I think it started with the coverage aspect. And again, I don't want to bang this drum too much, but you're doing that with, Poyer and Hancock rotating at safety. Taron Johnson's out at the last minute, so Cam Lewis is stepping in. Jamarcus Ingram, had a couple reps where he ran into some trouble, but he also had a couple really good reps. And I know Worthy's banged up. He's running stride for stride with Xavier Worthy on a slot fade at one point and beating him up a little bit along the way. And, playing over the top on a little rub route to make a stop on third down. And then you have Hairston, who, we'll talk about. Cole Bishop balled out. The back seven really did a good job. And, I think, again, tied into the game plan, and the execution was just so impressive to get Mahomes feeling uncomfortable and really out of his element and allowing the pressure to take over.
Yeah, and Babbage talked about that connectivity and how the coverage can help the rush and vice versa. He had a nice quote this week. If the quarterback's holding on to the ball, the coverage is getting him holding on to the ball. The rush needs to get there, and if the ball's out, we need to have good coverage and tight coverage. I think that's a little bit of a whole group starting to really come together with that, and more the defensive linemen play together, the more cohesiveness there will be. And we saw that in this game. And it wasn't, as you said, it wasn't just typical defensive linemen. Obviously, Hoyt with that Joker package, him being all over the place.
So gutted that he went down.
Dorian Williams did some cool things too, right? Like there was that package was very nice. But I want to talk about something that I've noticed coming out of the bye, because going into the bye, we saw the Bills. You talked about it earlier, spot coverages and getting to a spot, getting to your landmark, and how teams were kind of eating against those coverages. And so the Bills coming out of the bye, it appears like they reprioritize more of their match type coverages, more cover 4, more cover 6, because they've been playing less cover 2. So in weeks 1 through 6, they were playing cover 2. Again, more spot, drop type coverage. Weeks 1 through 6, 19.4%. But then in weeks 8 and 9 coming out of the bye, only 8.8%. Now, if you look at the cover 4 and cover 6 angles and how those have increased a little bit, cover 4 in weeks 1 through 6, 10.5%. Weeks 8 and 9, 19%. Cover 6, which is one they played a bunch in this game, and there are variations to it, but they all fall under the cover 6 umbrella. So cover 6 in weeks 1 through 6, 8.2%. In weeks 8 and 9, 19.8%. So they've gone away from just playing a lot of cover 2, and they've done some things where they're playing more split field coverages when we're talking about cover 6. And we saw that in this game where sometimes one side's playing cover 4, sometimes the other side's playing cover 2 zone. Sometimes they're playing more of a 2-man. And so they're mixing in these wrinkles, and they're not just throwing it to the same side of the field. Sometimes it's to the passing strength. Sometimes that cover 6 is to the weak side of the passing game. And so that really has made quarterbacks over the last couple of weeks have to think a little bit longer. And again, hold on to the ball, miss those windows, and allow that Bills pass rush to get home.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was so nice to see them kind of get back to more of those roots that we saw like years ago. You're watching, someone's running a dig from the outside, and Poyer's jumping it and attaching to it. And then that corner's kind of replacing him over the top a little bit. And there were so many good exchanges within coverage in this game from a man aspect, from a zone aspect. Again, just tying back to the not just covering grass. We saw so much in, really, coincidentally or not, like since the second half of that Atlanta game, Sean McDermott influence or not, or, working together with Babbage. But, before that, it was just so much like, hey, let's get to a spot, let's cover grass. And again, this one, the variety of coverages, the way they got to it, their rules were sound. And you saw guys, were pretty sticky, even when they were, just locking the backside of a 3-by-1. And man, you saw that flat defender right on top of the running back. You saw Benford or even Trey, whoever's on the number 1 on that side, locking him up, getting a little physical, staying attached to hip pockets. And then, they're playing whatever numbers they want on the other side and still being sound. It was just such a well-tailored game plan. And again, very exciting to see that they've kind of gotten away from just like, here's a bunch of cover 3, here's a bunch of cover 2. It's mainly spot drop. We're getting picked apart. Like, what do we do? It's been so nice to see them tweak that coming out of the bye and seeing it on tape, but also seeing it reflected in the numbers like you spoke to.
So when we get to the film, I want you guys to pay attention to those rotations, those coverages, but also when we get to the end zone views, how creative the rushes were, the games, the stunts, how many rushers they sent. They mixed up the rushes, how many guys were going at Mahomes, sometimes 3, 4, 5. They added spies. They were so disruptive up the middle, thanks to Hoyt a lot of the times. Ogunjobi got in there a bunch of times. And the DN just kind of compressed the pocket and really choked the pocket of Mahomes. And it got to the point where he was so disruptive on the spot in the pocket that he was starting to drift like he had a couple years ago, a little too deep in the pocket, which just made it that much easier for the Bills and the edge rushers to get home, to disrupt the passing game. And you just watch him. He was so uncomfortable at the top of his drops trying to set up in the pocket. He would just drift back a couple more steps. And next thing you know, he is 9-10 yards deep. And that just helps the Bills rushers, but also helps the coverage on the field, which also, again, gets them to hold on to the ball. And that's why you see some of those numbers so high when you're talking average time to throw. And, the other thing is, they were awesome. The Bills defense was awesome on third downs. 3 for 13 in this game, shutting down the Chiefs. Now they did allow a couple big plays, but you can't consistently win that way. Yeah. I know it pains us as fans to see those third down and fourth down completions when they're, 7 yards plus, but it's difficult to do that consistently. And the Bills got the Chiefs into third and fourth and longs quite often in this game. The average third down for the Chiefs in this game was 3rd and 8. And part of that is the Bills shut down the run game. I'd say shut down, but the Bills slowed down the run game. The Chiefs felt the need to just go to the passing game. The Bills jumped in the nickel and dime and said, okay, if that's the game you want to play, that actually plays to our strengths. And so, 3 for 10 for 59 yards and 1 interception on third down. The other thing is they didn't allow, we always talk about skipping third downs. They didn't allow the Chiefs to do that often. On 2nd and 10, the Chiefs, so 2nd and long, the Chiefs were 4 for 10 for 55 yards. So it was a good game plan all around. And I want to get to some of the film on what they did in coverage, but also, again, the creative rushes that they kind of set up from the end zone angles. I want you guys to pay attention to that as we get to the film. So let's jump in real quick. If I could find, there we go. All right. So Ant, you can see that, right?
Absolutely.
All right, let's get started on this. First third down, 3rd and 7 play. Very good disguise coverage. You heard Olsen call out the Bills defense a couple weeks ago. All they do is play 2-man on third down. Well, the Bills present that package here. They present the 2-man look. But as I talked about, they kind of muddy it up. To the top of the screen, they're playing 2-man. So deep half safety, man coverage to the passing strength, 2 receivers and running back included. To the bottom of the screen, they're playing quarters, though. And they're basically, again, more of a match coverage. And you'll see Cam Lewis go ahead and take the lower option here. I think that's Juju that runs across her. And then you have the corner and the safety over top. But it's to the top of the screen. It's not just regular 2-man. Look at Trey White. Him and Ingram go ahead and play with inside leverage, squeeze routes into the boundary, and it looks like 2-man. But actually, as Rice kind of breaks out to the boundary, you see a trap from Trey. So again, nice little wrinkle on top of the rush from the end zone angle, and it kind of speeds him up. But it just really nice presentation and changing it up and ever so slightly on the back end to make Mahomes think and second guess himself, because the ball could probably be out right now. but I assume he kind of felt or saw that a trap may happen, especially when you're throwing that ball into the boundary.
Yeah, as he starts to make his throwing motion, he can see Trey is turning and starting to trap that out. And that makes me think he's trying to fit this ball in a little differently because he's like, I've got a man on the inside and now I'm going to have a man on the outside. There's the stick. So he's very much trying to thread the needle here, get the right ball placement on this third down, and he just sails it a little bit. It's a little too far out of reach. Bit of a tough catch. Rice is unable to come down with it. I also like Hancock, number 37 on the backside, closing down on Kelsey. You talked about Cam taking that underneath part from Juju. Here comes Hancock, just ready to play top down on Kelsey in case anything's coming there. And then, you talked about it, the rush. Rousseau is able to get in there and heat up Mahomes, but he's able to do that because of a really good job from Dorian. Eyes are already on Jawan Taylor. He's making a beeline to just essentially, forget Trey Smith. Let me crack Jawan Taylor, which he does. Gets him off his feet. Trey Smith gets turned around. Rousseau bears down on Mahomes. We saw this later in the game with Solomon doing this to the left tackle to free up Bosa. Nice little game. Nice little stunt. Being effective with who's, a stand-up rusher versus who's down. Is it going to be odd mirror? Are you bringing an actual 4? This is such a simple little thing, but it frees up Rousseau, allows him to heat up Mahomes, and that plus the trap on the back end all combined to make Mahomes put this ball a little too far out of reach. You get off on third down. Nice complementary play between the front end and the back end for the Bills.
Yeah, I really like that little twister game with Dorian. And listen, Dorian, he's a aggressive blitzer. He's physical, as you see here. I don't think he's a good blitzer, but this is how you kind of counteract Hoyt's injury. Javon Solomon, he showed that he can do stuff like this. You see Dorian do this a ton where he's blowing up running backs, that are staying in the block. If you use them like this, to create chaos, kind of like what we saw from the training camp clips with Nielsen teaching the linebackers and rushers to kind of run those twists, what to attack, be physical with it, run those picks, as we'll see later. I think you can do some of those things with Dorian Williams. And honestly, they even did that in this game. As you'll see, they even use him as a spy. So I think Solomon and Williams can do some of those things in specific situations. They're not going to be in there in second and long situations like you saw Hoyt in this game, but some things they can do, similar things they can do with them. They bring a little something different. But again, it's going to be very difficult. It's crazy to say to replace Hoyt, even though we've only seen him like a game in 3 quarters. So
yeah, but he was so effective in that little amount of time. And also too, like we talked about it with him when we had him in the film room and talked about what he did in LA. Like it, not only just his skill set and being able to be used in that role, but him calling those type of games. Like he's the shot caller, like he's at the line and he's calling out the game they're going to play or what they're going to do. So yeah, I think they can cobble it together a little bit. I'm excited to see what they can do because that role was so nice. And even though it is kind of unique to Hoyt, if they can cobble it together a little bit and mitigate his absence, it'd be really helpful.
Right. And so here's a second and long. I talked about second and longs, and they're motioning Worthy out of the backfield. And immediately, look, the Bills are checking into that same coverage you just saw. So man to one side, quarters to the other, essentially. And to the bottom of the screen, Milano, you see Milano, Poyer, and Benford communicating, playing a 3-over-2 essentially to the bottom of the screen. They're running an option route with Kelsey. This is where Kelsey used to eat. But it's nice to have Milano back because he immediately squeezes. Kelsey takes him away. And as you see Rice kind of breaking to the middle of the field, he nails down, Poyer nails him down, and Benford even gets back to help over the top as Rice kind of, it seems like he goes into a secondary route because of that nail by Poyer. And so now Mahomes has to move on, but he's getting pressured by Ogunjobi up the field. So he gets out of the pocket, and then you see the pursuit and speed of Rousseau and others kind of just start to close down. But more importantly, I thought the Bills were great in the second play and reactionary plays of scramble drill, plastering down, taking away the immediate options, and just run into the ball and forcing Mahomes to get rid of it, like you see here.
I completely agree. And, this funny, this is the play that was in my mind when I was talking about, Jordan Poyer coming down and nailing on an in-breaker and someone replacing him behind. This was the one that was right in my head. And the other side works really nice too. You've got Hairston up on the line, gets into Worthy's kitchen, gets physical with him on the whip route, Worthy's unable to separate. You've got Cam and a really good trail technique on Juju, and then he's getting his eyes back on the ball. Kelsey's locked up. Rice kind of runs that secondary route, like you said, but he's funneling into Benford and Bishop, who essentially are kind of able to beeline and squeeze that as needed. But Mahomes, again, everything, that connectivity that you talked about in that quote from Babbage, he's not even able to get there because Ogunjobi runs him off the spot. You get Rousseau chasing him down. That was so nice to see too, like that, just that rush lane integrity. It wasn't just guys getting Mahomes off his spot and now he's free to just scramble.
You're not just having Rousseau come in here, right? Because usually when this guy's up the field, usually you get that freestyle or kind of playing off of that D tackle. Usually Ed Oliver, usually Rousseau is taught to replace him inside, and now basically Ogunjobi is a DN and Rousseau is a D tackle. But you see Rousseau read it properly. He sees Mahomes escape out to the right, and this is important because that closing speed is important. Now Mahomes can't set his feet and get the ball to Rice and guys coming back to the ball, and he has to throw it away.
They did such a good job on him. Anytime he escaped the pocket, it was at least one guy with a good angle and close to him, but usually even here, like there's multiple guys flowing to the ball. You saw guys with good pursuit angles, ready to kind of squeeze any space and constrict any potential running lanes for him. They, again, just another good job by them of kind of scouting Kansas City and not allowing Mahomes to get comfortable and kind of gash them in any way with his legs.
Yeah, I mean, Cole Bishop, though. Let's talk about Cole. Obviously, a big coming out game for him. 7 tackles, 4 pass breakups, tackle for loss. He was the leader when it came to communication, pre-snap. He trusted his eyes. He trusted his film study. He played fast. Athleticism, versatility, everything you want from that safety in Cole Bishop, you got in this game. And this is the next couple plays obviously highlight that. 3rd and 3 here. The Chiefs are trying to get a speed out with man coverage. Just quickly out to the boundary so that they could get Worthy the ball. And likely, if Bishop doesn't make a play on this, Worthy's up the sideline, and I don't think that Cam Lewis is catching him. But because of the film study by Bishop, he is able to make a play on the ball. I could have had a pick 6, to be honest, but it's something he mentioned that he saw on Chiefs film. Here's a 3rd down play from game 1 of the season where you see the Chargers defender play over the top of that with man coverage and goes and makes a tackle short of the sticks here. Bishop did an even better job on his play, but just awesome to see a player, show some progress, show some development. But for us film junkies, plays like this, taking it from watching film, especially game 1 of the season, to the field in high leverage situations, these are the plays that we live for in the film room.
Absolutely. And it was so nice to, like that tying in that together. We've seen Kansas City do this so much. It makes me think of the same with like the low red zone play where they act like they're going to bring the motion into the formation and then they stop and flare back out and someone's wide open. Like you watch these Kansas City games and you see that, and it's just like how do teams not pick up on it? And this was so awesome to see. And I love that you pulled the Chargers clip in there because Kansas City will do this. They'll bring Worthy, or especially like it was Thornton in that first clip against the Chargers. They'll bring their speedier dudes in that motion and just try and create that horizontal stretch. They really started to do this with Worthy a lot last year in the season. And it could be there. And Bishop reads it. He's able to use his speed, close down. It's such a great play. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. He should have had like 3 interceptions in this game. There were a couple times where he was in such good position. Right. This was one of them. And I'm just like, especially being there, I was so pumped for that play that he made, but I wanted him to pick it off. And then he follows it up as your lead into the next play. That's on 3rd down. Then he follows it up with the PBU on Rice on the next play to shut essentially back-to-back plays down. And that one also ties into this film study as you show what Kansas City again did earlier in the year against the Chargers. Yeah,
again, 4 strong. You're seeing Pacheco come across the formation, so 4 eligible to the bottom of the screen. And all they're trying to do is get these guys to, get some space in between the zone coverage, bump these guys out and find those soft spots. But you see how in this game, the completion is to Brown. But in the Bills game, Bishop, he knows what's coming. He obviously is keyed and alerted to Rashee Rice as the number 3 inside. And then once that motion happens, and it looks very similar to that last play you just saw, you see him just read Mahomes and then read and understand that, hey, he's going to try to get it versus this zone coverage into this soft spot right here in between Bernard and Bishop. And honestly, if this is cover 3 with this guy dropping down, he's actually supposed to be dropping more into this area but you see him just trust his eyes. I'm sure he saw this on film when you're talking about this play in game, and he just drives on the ball on 4th and 3 and breaks up that pass.
Like textbook, punches through the hands, gets like your zoom in on it is absolutely perfect. He goes around Rice, doesn't go through the body. Bishop's left hand punches right through Rice's hands. That Rice essentially catches Bishop's hand instead of the ball because of where Bishop plays that. And again, this is another good example. You hit the film study piece. I'm not going to expand too much upon that, but tying into what we talked about earlier, not just covering grass, right? He's not just like, let me drop into my spot. He's reading it. He understands what's going on. He's not just flying out and bumping out. He's not just flying and sinking into his spot. He's reading what's happening, understanding what's happening. And that, the spacing also helps a little bit too. He's able to drop. Kelsey isn't, really forcing him out too wide. He's able to sit there, nail down. And you can even see Kelsey's just running this route. He's not even really looking for the ball. He's kind of just chilling. Like, they know this is going to Rice because they're expecting Bishop to pop out. It's 4th and 3. Mahomes is just thinking, cool, let me complete this for 4 yards, first down, and we move on. But the film study, the eyes of Bishop, he plays it with urgency, but he also plays with patience. Just, like him being able to do that also allows him to tap into his athleticism at the same time. That burst. He had hit so much exciting play from him in this game. And if he can continue it, oh boy, what that would mean to this defense.
Let's keep this Bishop segment rolling here. You heard McDermott talk about how he saw Bishop playing fast and that he felt Bishop on the field. 3rd and 1 concept here. It's a spot concept.
Kelsey felt Bishop on this one here.
Yeah, he definitely did. And so this is a concept that we've seen the Bills actually give up a couple of plays to the Jets game. It's why the linebackers coach gave the cut-ups of this spot concept to Terrell Bernard that led to the interception in that Dolphins game to kind of seal that game. And so it's a similar route concept, a little different tweak on how they release and switch release. But you're essentially seeing Kelsey hit that back line and run to the back pylon. But you see the coverage you see Worthy immediately eliminated. I like that. And Bishop is initially looking out wide to Worthy to see how that develops. But good work by Cam Lewis of just slowing up that curl or spot route right there. But now this breaks down to essentially an in and out coverage by Bishop and Terrell Bernard on Kelsey. Very good call here. But also, I want you to pay attention to this passing window. This is a tight passing window because of Cam Lewis, one. And then secondly, Mahomes is thinking, okay, I got to put it in between, Bernard. I got to put it out in front of Bernard a little bit, obviously, who's right here in trail, but not too far because he feels Cole Bishop there. And so the throw is a little off. The window and passing lane is closing quickly because of Cam Lewis and others. And you see Bishop still go for the big hit on Kelsey. Great work. And you can see Kelsey, he, like you said, he felt this hit. And again, the athleticism, great. Plays on the ball were great. But when you're bringing that tone-setting edge on especially impact players like Travis Kelce, I know he's on the downside of his career, but making him feel every lick when you're able to is just amazing work by Cole Bishop and this Bills defense in the low red zone.
Yeah, and that's been, especially with Kelce, like that's been kind of, even when he was in his prime, like the idea was, listen, he's going to get what you need to do is just beat the hell out of him so that hopefully by the 4th quarter, those hits start to add up and he feels it a little bit. This is just so pretty from Bishop, especially in today's NFL where it's like, it's hard to really hit someone. Like if you hit someone and there's a pop, you're probably going to get flagged in some way. You have that small window where you have to essentially hit someone in their sternum or their gut. And that's exactly what Bishop does. He drives that shoulder right into that little spot in your diaphragm where like your stomach like meets the rib cage, and you see Kelsey feel that, probably knock the wind out of him a little bit. It's such a good play from a coverage standpoint and a closing standpoint. But yeah, the physicality, like take advantage. Kelsey opens up his midsection, bury him in that midsection. Clean hit, just clean, physical, impactful, tone setting. Bernard loved it, daps up Bishop right away. And for that to be, in the low red zone. And that was the 3rd down play after Hollywood Brown got tackled at the 1. Like those 3 stops in a row, Kansas City had a 1st and goal from the 1, and the Bills get 3 consecutive stops capped by that one and then Kansas City kicked a field goal. Huge momentum swinging play.
Yeah, and you guys in the chat room are asking, what about the wide open running back? Well, the running back was wide open as it checked down the last option in that progression, because Milano and the backside corner were already using their vision towards where the ball was going. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not something that like, oh, they purposely left him wide open. No, their vision took them to the ball, which is why they let up on the running back there. Again, more of a check down, and it's Kareem Hunt. And you got Matt Milano hanging out with the cornerback there on the backside. So I wasn't worried about that. But let's go back. Let's go forward to 3rd and 7 here. A very creative rush, but again, nice coverage on the back end as well. And you see Hoyt and Dorian Williams in the middle of that defense there, kind of playing games with Mahomes. And like I said, Mahomes drifted a lot in this game, but also there were plays where Mahomes left the pocket, as we criticized Josh Allen for doing a little too much this year. Mahomes left the pocket on this play, but it's because of that, again, more of that hybrid coverage on the top of the screen, but also, zone coverage to the bottom of the screen. But Mahomes gets outside the pocket, and then you see the aggressive spy and Dorian Williams start to, break on him. But more importantly, as Mahomes hits the top of his drop there, and then immediately starts to kind of move this way, watch Cole Bishop and watch how he triggers on the open wide receiver Brown right here, and how and why that was so important. So he triggers on Brown as the scramble drill ensues, and immediately does a great job. Boom, he breaks down. He doesn't run 100 miles an hour right into Brown to kind of, blow him up and get the flag. He gets under control, and then he gets into that scramble drill. He plasters down and makes a play on the ball, something that we've been clamoring for weeks. Defensive backs make plays on the ball. Obviously, Cole Bishop had a day when it came to that.
Yeah, we've talked, I forget however many weeks ago, we talked about how little PBUs they had, how little forced incompletions they had. And even from a back end standpoint, like one or a couple of them were like credited to Shaq Thompson, the linebackers, like the DBs just were not making those plays on the ball, not against Kansas City, especially from Cole Bishop's perspective. He had so many plays on the ball. And yeah, this one was so nice. Like you highlighted exactly, what my favorite part was, like him seeing the vertical from Hollywood, attaching to him, plastering to him. Like you said, he's not flying off the handle and out of control. He's not overrunning it. He's urgently moving to Hollywood, getting into his hip, and then sitting there. He's attaching, and he's watching Mahomes. Ball goes up. He's bigger than Hollywood. He's more athletic than Hollywood. He's able to go up, make a play on the ball. And again, kudos to Dorian Williams. A little bit of odd mirror happening up here. You see Dorian just chilling as that aggressive spy. It kind of looks like, oh, is there going to be a cross dog coming, between Hoyt and Williams? Hoyt comes. Dorian's just chilling. Mahomes gets off his spot, and Dorian see ball, get ball, bang. Mahomes tries to make a throw. Dorian's closing down on him. Rousseau's closing down on him. Hoyt is closing down on him. Yeah, and you're doing that with a 3-man rush. So even though Dorian's still the aggressive spy, he's in coverage a little bit. You're still kind of essentially dropping 8, just everything being muddy for Mahomes.
This is so cool. I mean, Hoyt, again, 2-point stance. Dorian, as a ball snap, you see them kind of cross up. And so not only is, the interior offensive line kind of sorting that out, you see Dorian actually, he occupies Humphrey initially, but then you get Hoyt playing games as well on this side, kind of faking like a coffee house stunt, right? Acting like they're about to run a stunt here. And they obviously don't. But again, it creates like that confusion for the offensive line.
Creates doubt and hesitancy.
And then Mahomes, his eyes are downfield, and he's seeing these flashes of color going across his face in different ways, which is why he probably did leave the pocket there. And again, Rousseau in pursuit, and then the aggressive spy and Dorian Williams, just a creative 3-man rush with a spy that, again, on 3rd and long with the Bills in their dime package, really was cool to watch, play in and play out. It's why the Bills were so good at slowing down the Chiefs on 3rd down, especially 3rd and long.
Yeah, and that's been an issue going back to last year, like their 3rd down ability or lack thereof. And you got Kansas City, like you highlighted earlier, with their numbers on 3rd down. You got Kansas City into disadvantageous spots for Kansas City, but advantageous ones for the Bills. And it was nice to see them capitalize on the advantages they created for themselves early on 1st and 2nd downs.
Speaking of capitalize, it was nice to see Max Hairston capitalizing on his reps. And the more he plays, the more confidence he's going to build, and probably the more reps he's going to get over Trey White. It's going to happen sooner than later. 2nd and 9 here. Hairston versus Worthy, bottom of screen. Bills are in zone coverage. I like the disguise, though. You can see everyone pressed up, and then immediately as a ball snapped, you see not only the rotation spin, the safety spin, but watch Hairston's posture change. Boom, now we're in a bail, and Worthy does a good job getting vertical, getting into that blind spot, and this is that moment where zone turns the man. It's good to have a guy that when this happens, whether you're playing zone or man, that has a skill set that Hairston does, turns to the wide receiver, closes that gap, gets in phase, but more importantly, runs with Worthy and gets his head around to find the ball, squeezing Worthy into the boundary. It was nice to see Hairston get a play like this under his belt, and it really built his confidence to match up versus a guy that one of the main reasons Hairston was drafted was for Worthy, right? To combat Worthy, to combat speed, to open up the Bills' coverage abilities and options. And you see him do that on this play, and it really showed out and kind of built his confidence to get that interception later, to be honest.
Yeah, there's some dudes in the AFC who can absolutely fly. Worthy is one of them, and you draft a guy like Max Hairston to try and fight that fire with fire, and he showed it in that game. This one was so nice, like you said, like he bails. Worthy's in his blind spot. He feels that. I like how he turns, gets eyes on Worthy, attaches to him, and then as he's attached to him / like hand fighting with him, he still manages to get his eyes back on the ball. He doesn't panic. He doesn't get overly physical. He doesn't do anything that could draw the flag. Worthy's not even clamoring for a flag after the incompletion because he knows that was just a good play. Like, look at Hairston trying to look back, find the ball. He even looks over both shoulders while still being in phase with him. Like, that takes athleticism. That takes poise. That takes some technique. And the Bills being able to have a guy on the outside who has that type of juice, but who can also play with the technique at the same time. Oof, that really matters a lot and changes.
I want to talk about this too.
Defense.
This comment by Bills camp talking about, hey, I know a lot of fans were upset that Hairston shared his scouting report on Worthy and how he picked up a tendency. Listen, there's no doubt that he could have picked up on a tendency, run the pass when it comes to Worthy, but I mean, tendencies can be picked up just by where Worthy is allotted, or slotted in a formation. It's not just all player-based stuff. It's not just, his right leg is up versus when it's a run versus, little things like that. It actually just could be down and distance tendencies. It could be where he's lined up in certain situations. Just like you saw the play from Bishop, the fact that these guys identify that and verbalize it to us, to fans, the media, to analysts, doesn't mean that they're just giving it away in that, everything was created so easily by them for that. It just, I like that they can verbalize that. I like that they're studying film and able to pick up on these things. I mean, unless he comes out and says, "Oh yeah, this is the exact tendency," it's not going to really hurt them. It's going to actually make those teams have to study harder themselves, not just their opponent.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And you could also, if you want to play devil's advocate, like when you give that kind of stuff out there, if you're the opponent, you're sitting there thinking like, "Oh man, I'm kind of giving that away." But then it's also like, it kind of becomes a mind game within yourself, because then it's another example of like, okay, now I know that they know, but like, do I try to switch it up a little bit? Like, okay, right. I'm tipping my curveball. Should I stop doing that?
They don't just trust those 100% either. Like, you still have to stick to your keys. So if you're playing discipline, you're going to do your job.
Yes. And you're not just going to completely change. Like, again, it's like, okay, I'm tipping my curveball, but do they think now that I'm going to completely stop doing that? But maybe if I keep doing it, they think I won't throw the curveball because they'd already know that it becomes this giant, as Bill's camp says, they know that I know that he knows that I know. That's exactly it. Like, and that all jokes aside, that becomes a hindrance for the other team, because now you're trying to play this mental game and these mental gymnastics with yourself, in addition to being able to physically execute. So I understand where that sentiment comes from, but I don't think it's as bad as it could be, because of what it puts more onus onto the opponent.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it comes down to that Hairston still has to stick to his keys and do his job, his assignment, especially if you're talking the 111th mantra of the Bills.
He's not going to get caught out. You're not going to sit there and think like, the pitcher does this when he throws a curve. So you're not only going to sit there and be like, well, the curve has to be coming. You're still going to read the pitch. You're still going to operate accordingly. You're not just going to completely sell out.
Right. And so 3rd and 16 here. Again, 3rd and long. Obviously, A big thing in this game. Bills simply drop into cover 3 here. And I just love, again, the rush lanes. There's a little pressure from Bosa up the field initially, but then you see Rousseau just waiting and holding and containing the right side of the pocket of the Chiefs. And then, again, the flashing of the color of the Bills colors from the end zone angle. I think that's part of the reason why Mahomes kind of drops his eyes and is starting to look at the rush. You get a 2-for-1 right here by Walker. So now you got one-on-ones with these three, Bosa, Rousseau, and Hoyt. Hoyt is affecting the quarterback up the pocket. And then right here, you're seeing Mahomes. He has nowhere to go. He's dropping his eyes. He's looking for that escape lane. Here comes Bosa retracing up the pocket, and he has nowhere to go. Hoyt is closing. Rousseau is closing. The play is over. 3rd and long, shut down by the Bills.
I love that they just essentially get 3 bodies all getting a piece or a hit, like all getting a piece of Mahomes or getting a hit on Mahomes. Starts with the coverage. They drop into cover 3 again, 3rd and long, but you see Benford bailing, and he sees the flash from his periphery of Worthy, so he keeps sinking with him. You've got Rashee Rice maybe open at the 50, but Bernard is kind of closing underneath it, so that angle's changing. Hancock is making a beeline to the receiver at the top, so you kind of got him squeezed a bit between Hairston and Hancock, and then everybody else is kind of the no cover zones underneath where you get to rally and tackle. Yeah, that's Mahomes'
And this
best
is where
option.
normally they go, right? You saw Diggs get it on that little sail concept where, hey, usually they're going out to the boundary, whether it's a 90 or 45-degree cut, or they usually settle depending on the zone. Teams have been settling right there between Bernard and the flats defender, but that's not open. Again, the throw from the 25-yard line to there is still going to be probably short of the sticks. And again, that's a tight window, so he does hold on to the ball. So I do think the coverage kind of quelled that initial first few reads of this play. There's some separation here, but again, hips and eyes and the body of Hancock are leaning towards that vertical route.
Yeah, Mahomes is going to have to make, and again, he's capable of it, but he's going to have to make like a great throw to keep it away from Hancock and keep it away from Hairston. You've got Benford running at the bottom with Worthy, who's kind of faking like a little out and up type of deal. And then Hoyt, I love that Hoyt just chucks Trey Smith. It just becomes like hand usage and violence and bully ball a little bit. I also like how his initial move here, and he kind of like gets him caught with the inside long arm. You can see that Smith isn't ready. Hoyt wins with that first touch, and as soon as he pops him, with that long arm, Smith is on the recovery phase, and he eventually does kind of anchor a bit, but Hoyt gets him on the inside, moves, grabs him, chucks him. This is so nice. Like the hand usage, the violence, the pop against an all-pro guard. Hoyt just bullies him a bit and then chucks him to the side, gets in Mahomes' face, and everybody converges on him. It's just so nice.
And this is what the Bills did in this game, and they used Hoyt in a lot of ways to the man side of the protection right here. You kind of see this 3-man slide to this way. Great work by Deion Walker pointing and working down the center line, so he basically occupies those 2 guys. You got a chip on Bosa. So again, 2-for-1 here, 2-for-1 here. You get your one-on-ones here, and that's where that initial pressure comes from. And then after that initial pressure, again, the waves come in Bosa and Rousseau, and then Hoyt. Hoyt's tenacity on this play with that initial stab. Boom. Oh, I got that inside lane. I'm going to hit him with the outside hand to even him up. And then again,
right in the chest.
Pull. Yeah, dude, it's relentless. And you saw them all day, rush the passer creatively, get creative matchups. And they did a great job of getting one-on-ones for those edge guys in Bosa and Rousseau, which is why they led in pressures. And a lot of that started with the scheme, some of the twists, and just how they attacked the Chiefs offense. Here's another play. This is the Bosa sack, 2nd and 8. And I love the disguise here. 2 high safety look initially. Watch Cole Bishop, the half-field safety to the bottom of the screen. Post-snap, as the Chiefs are in a 3-by-1 set, watch what Bishop does. Kind of does what Micah Hyde used to do in Employer. They would kind of open their hips like they're going to drop back into a 2-high shell. And then, boom, right after, you can see Mahomes looking at Bishop immediately. And as soon as the ball snapped, you'll see Bishop fake that and then drive hard to the curl area. And that's where, Mahomes wants to hit Rice. Bishop takes Rice away. Mahomes has to move on his progressions. It's essentially a nice rush by Bosa. You can see Bosa and Rousseau kind of clamping down the spot in the pocket again, just not rushing aimlessly up the field, great contain rush here. And then Bosa, as that tackle hits the apex of that rush and kick slide, he just pulls him inside, hits the inside lane as he anticipates Mahomes climbing the pocket. He goes and gets him for the sack.
Yeah, this is perfect. I don't have too much to add on this one. Mahomes wanted Rice. He sees Bishop spinning down and nailing down on that, so it makes him want to get off it. And as he gets off it, Bosa is getting through the left tackle and getting inside. And it's just such a good job again from we talked about it when we broke down Bosa's tape, this offseason. Him understanding like quarterback drop depth and where they're going to set up. Like, he's not one of those guys who gets caught out too much in that regard. And he does his patented kind of like waddle a little bit as he gets into the left tackle. You see Bishop's dropping, right? Like, okay, he's going to go in coverage. If I'm Mahomes, psych, I'm actually going to nail down on Rice. And then you're getting a little bit of the pocket collapsing. The left guard's getting driven back a little bit. Yeah. The right tackle is getting driven back. Everybody's meeting at the quarterback. And look at, you've got the center and the right guard on, I think it's Ogunjobi. And so you've got the man side of the protection again with Hoyt. You get one-on-one with him, one-on-one with Bosa, one-on-one with Rousseau. And look at Mahomes as he gets off Rice and he goes to evade. He immediately like almost runs right into his right tackle because Rousseau has compressed that and driven back. There's nowhere to go. He's completely penned in. He's completely hemmed in because of Hoyt and Rousseau. And then Bosa has come free because he got into his man, worked him inside. The left tackle is completely beaten because of the power, hand usage, and path of Bosa. Oh, just so well done up front, but it starts because of that little deception and the closing ability from Cole Bishop. And Kelsey eventually comes open over the middle, but guess what? Mahomes can't get there because he's trying to evade because everything is breaking down around him.
Yep, that rush getting home eventually, right? That's complementary football. That's the rush and coverage working together. Here's another play of that nature, 3rd and 11, the interception by Hairston to the top of the screen. But look at the Bills. They're mugging the line of scrimmage. It's 3rd and long. They don't care. They're still showing pressure prior to the snap, and a really nice creative rush, as I'll show from the end zone angle. But the rush and coverage working together. Bosa getting that one-on-one against the right tackle, and there's a backup right tackle for that. And you see, look at Mahomes drifting. He senses pressure. He just drifts, gets so deep. Like, that is so difficult for offensive tackles to kick slide and get the depth they need to create that petri dish or that bowl, right? In that pocket. And you see him just drifting back. The Chiefs are trying to pretty much run like a divide route here. Bills and Hairston. I want you to watch Hairston get to his deep third. You see Cole Bishop. Look at Cole Bishop at his hips. Watch him turn as this ball gets thrown to the top of the screen. Watch that quick turn and athleticism. Boom. Hairston sticks to his keys, finds the ball, tracks the ball. High points that ball right there. But if he doesn't make the interception, I'll make the case that Cole Bishop is picking this off as well.
Yeah, this is another one that like could have been another Cole Bishop interception. Like, he had a bunch in this game. You hit everything with Hairston and Bishop. I don't have too much to add. I love Bosa playing through the right tackle, and now Mahomes' deep drop kind of impacts that. And also, let's give a shout out here. You have them dotted here. You've got Bosa on the outside. You've got Dorian Williams lined up over the right tackle. And that third dot is for Javon Solomon. So here goes Bosa rushing through the right tackle. You've got Dorian Williams, who's spying a little bit, but because of the lineup, he's engaged with that right guard, or the right guard, I should say. Right? Yes, is engaged with him. So he's occupied. So you've got a bunch of one-on-ones. Look at Bosa just completely go through that right tackle. Look at Javon Solomon carrying Tyquan Thornton.
Michael Hoyt's role, right?
Oh, yeah. There you go. Like, you can mitigate that spinner a bit, maybe between Solomon, Williams, see what happens. But I love even Solomon. This plays such a good example, right? Like, he's not just dropping to a spot. He drops. As soon as he drops from the line, he gets eyes immediately to the route distribution and carries it. And then as he gains further depth, like, look, good athleticism, look at the depth. He gets eyes back to Mahomes, but initially going to locate and carry is just so impressive. Like, he's not just covering grass. That is such a perfect representation of how they were covering in this game, where it was getting to bodies and not just grass. Also a nice little cherry on top with Bosa putting Mahomes into the turf. Wolf, like this was such a fun one. Not just because it ended in an interception, but everything that led up to it.
All right, guys, those were the 10 plays on defense I picked. I do have some Cam Lewis clips that we could go over, or we could switch to a few plays on offense. Let's hear what you guys want us to cover here. And I mean, I want to talk about Cam Lewis because I thought the way they used him was phenomenal. I thought that, they use him as a split field safety, obviously as a nickel, as a dime backer. He is very valuable, as we all know, to this team, especially when we're talking if an injury occurs to like Taron Johnson and whatnot. And so I wanted to go over a few of those clips. Here you see him essentially down on the weak side of the formation early in the game he gets matched up versus Hollywood Brown, and a great job of taking speed off the route at that contact point. A nice little tug to get into the near pocket, as you see from the end zone angle, and just again using everything at his disposal, technique, quickness. And that's one thing I think Cam has is quickness in short areas, and he does a great job of closing that window. Look how difficult of a throw that has, and how perfect of a throw that has to be,
dude.
It's phenomenal, dude.
That's great. It's as great on great. That's a great job in coverage by Cam. That's a crazy good ball from Mahomes.
Yeah,
but Cam being right there, plus the hand kind of getting in the way. I think Hollywood gets obstructed a little bit and is unable to make that catch. But that's such a great play by Cam early on in this game. You know what I like too with having Cam in there, because he can play a little bit of safety. I liked as the game went on, you started to see like Cam's going to be a deep safety. Bishop's going to be more the nickel, and then vice versa. Like they got into some creativity, especially when they were in dime, of who was going to be where and who was going to do what. And that freed Bishop up a little bit to play more of that monster man, big nickel apex like he did at Utah.
Right. And here Cam is right side of the screen. Again, low red zone, high leverage situation. Watch how he once again gets into the pocket of Hollywood Brown. Nice little tug, a little help from Bernard, but you're getting into that passing window. No panic at all. So as Mahomes goes to his first look, gets to the middle field, Cam takes that away and again forces Mahomes to throw it away. Just really good work by Cam, and just showing how, the amount of reps and experience he's had helps him in this game to, match up against Rashee Rice, Worthy, or even Hollywood Brown in these high leverage situations.
Yeah, this one was nice. Such a kind of, that little tug, like you said, slingshots himself a little bit, is able to kind of get underneath, and especially in the low red zone here and in the situation. This is, I don't remember if this was the first or the second play in that third down, that first and goal sequence at the end of the first half, but you're thinking that ball is going to come out quick. So you get yourself immediately in that window, like you talked about, to take away any potential initial throw. And Mahomes is looking right there. Like he's looking right down the barrel. And again, some good help from Bernard, but Lewis swings himself underneath. Mahomes has to get his eyes off of Hollywood, go somewhere else. That somewhere else isn't open, and eventually leads to a throwaway, but it starts with Cam Lewis's play underneath.
Right, and here he is, this time matched up against Rice as a number 3 inside to the top of the screen, running a little return route or pivot route back to the boundary, and actually the Bills actually run this play as well, but you see him immediately, boom, he attaches to him and quickly takes him away as an option. What happens there? Mahomes moves on his progressions and has to get into that scramble drill mode, and the Bills are attacking, and almost another interception right here. If the ball is actually thrown properly, this might be an interception as well.
Yeah, this is another one close that Bishop could add another interception on the day. Like, dude made so many plays and also kind of left some meat on the bone, ironically. This is also, too, the play that I referenced earlier where Jamarcus Ingram is covering Xavier Worthy downfield on the slot fade and is in lockstep with him the whole way. Like, just look at the coverage all day. Like, Benford is impressed and getting physical with Kelsey. He's attached to him. Bernard goes with the running back, releasing out. Like there is nowhere to go.
But first, before Bernard just goes and gets the running back, no cover zone right then, takes away Kelsey then to the running back.
Yes, gets underneath Kelsey, moves on from there, so takes away that potential first window or first throw, moves on to the second. You've got Hancock spinning down, multiple guys following up on Mahomes. AJ Epinesa buries Mahomes and snaps his head off.
That was that play,
Yeah, that was like scary seeing it on tape, because I was at the game. I didn't get to see it on broadcast. Like I don't know how much it was highlighted there. Like watching it on tape, his head slammed off the ground. I'm surprised he didn't have a knock. Maybe he did. I don't know. But yeah, that was a nasty hit from Epinesa. Mahomes tried to throw it back across his body and jumped a little bit, and Epinesa just played right through his chest and buried him.
Here's another play. Cam Lewis helping take away Kelsey. This is the Chiefs' bread and butter. I mean, there were years where Kelsey would just do work on Milano, of all
Yeah.
people, on this little option route. You see Cam Lewis do a great job of playing with inside leverage. Why? Because he has help if the route was to break outside. He chokes that route out. And again, Mahomes is looking. He even sets the throw. It's taken away and then has to scramble and move up in the pocket. Just, again, really good work by Cam Lewis at the point of attack early in the reads of Mahomes to take away those options and big names. We're not just talking third and fourth wide receivers on the depth chart. You're talking about Kelsey's, the Worthies, and Hollywood Browns, Rashee Rice. Like, these are really good players for the Chiefs offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Cam to play with the juice that he plays with and the burst that he plays with, but then still being able to bang like and play with physicality and be able to deal with bigger bodied guys. And he has no problem kind of attaching, beating guys up, staying attached. It's just good play from him. And we've seen this now for the past couple of seasons. Last year, I think, was a good highlight too. Like Taron Johnson's out for a bit. Like, you're not getting too much of a drop off with Cam. And the fact that he can still play some safety and you have some interchangeability there, you actually kind of maybe get a schematic uptick because of his ability to play nickel and play safety.
Yeah, you talk about that scrappiness, that physicality.
Yeah.
Watch him attach to Kelsey on this play. And he roughs him up several yards down the field. I'm not going to, deny that. But this is what the Bills fans wanted when we're talking these Hail Mary type situations. Like, you know what, Kelsey, we're not going to just let you free release. We're going to get a man on you. You're not going to get a quick pass underneath to set up anything later. You get Cam Lewis on Kelsey, giving him the business all the way down the field, allowing the others to go bat down the ball. Rookies like Hairston and Hancock to bat down the ball, which again really has scars for the Bills fans and Bills fan base. And you can see that, hey, guess what? They learned from that.
The whole time with the Hail Mary thing, I literally was just like, in my head, I was like, knock it down, please knock it down, please knock it down, please knock it down. And they knocked it down. It was nice. Even on the play before too, with the deep one, Bishop makes a play. Yeah. In the back of the end zone or kind of middle of the end zone. And you get a nice knock it down here from the two young guns, Hairston and Hancock, neither going up trying to make the interception. They go up, knock it down. And yeah, I love Cam bullying Kelsey, taking away anything there. Maybe they want to throw it quick or get some more cheap yardage before they try a Hail Mary or try something there. Really nice to see in that regard. Real quick, several people have asked about the play on 4th and 17 that they got the first down on. From my recollection, the Bills took away everything initially. Bernard sees Rashee Rice and he just kind of runs to Rice and goes to where Rice was more so than attaches to him. And Rice just moves essentially to that second window. Mahomes finds him and hits him. It's just kind of a lack of attaching from Bernard / a good play from Rashee Rice to find open space. Mahomes gets too much time and they get a big completion.
Yeah, and honestly, you also got to think like the time, like the pass rush, it wasn't quite there, so they weren't working together on that play. And McDermott talked about that.
Everything was completely covered up initially. There was nowhere for Mahomes to go, but nobody heated him up, like you said. And so eventually he got. I mean, you had time for Rashee Rice to not only get to like the second window, but Mahomes to go from like 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 4 second window, and boom.
Yeah. All right. So I loved this game plan from McDermott, Babbage, and everyone. It was really good, man. I was excited to see the creativity. I think you saw some of the Nielsen impact there.
Yes.
But again, the composure, the strategy by McDermott and this staff was great. It just showed up. The last 2 weeks, it's felt like a different defense coming out of the bye.
Absolutely. I mentioned it earlier. I don't know if, it's McDermott being completely hands-on and taking over, or if they are, I'm going to continue putting in quotes like him and Babbage calling the defense together. But since that second half of Atlanta, man, there has been more of a covering men presence, and not just from like man perspective, but more match in zone, not just covering grass, and guys really attaching to people, playing with a little more physicality. There's been a bit more purpose. We've also, we didn't highlight it in this episode, but their run fits have been more sound. Mm-hmm. Like they're still getting gashed from time to time, but it's not just because, well, they had numbers in the box, but 2 guys were in the same gap or 3 guys were in the same gap. Sometimes it's just they don't have the numbers, or you're tipping your cap to the other team for making a good play, or they're playing coverage first. So that's been a nice uptick as well. This this defense really has been playing a lot better since that second half of Atlanta, and I'm very excited to see how it could potentially continue against Miami this week. And I know Tampa their O-line is really banged up, and Evans is out, and Bucky Irving's been banged up, and I'm interested to see what they do against Tampa because they can fly on that side of the ball. And yeah, this if the Bills defense can get back to more of the Bills defense of old with this offense and the run game and the offensive line, like if things start to come together and they can mitigate some of those vulnerabilities, considering how wide open the AFC is, oh man, that's really, 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 really exciting.
Yeah. All right, let's flip the script. We got some time left. Let's get to the offensive side ball. Let's do it. We're going to talk about how the Bills control the offensive game plan, the game script, and kind of leaned on those playmakers, Cook, Kincaid, Shakir. Kincaid and Shakir, dude, 53.8% of the targets in this game. Cook with a career high 28 total touches. So they leaned on them. I thought overall, though, Josh Allen played really, really well. I thought he made some good decisions in the pass game. He took the easy underneath stuff, the check downs, the screens to stay ahead of the chains, which is something Connor McGovern said was the key to playing against Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defense. And those second and long situations, they ran some of those screens. They ran plays, quick plays to get the ball at Josh's hands, but to set up those 3rd and 2s, those 3rd and 3s that really open up, hey, Josh could run it or Josh could pass it in those situations to convert.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job of not getting themselves into predictable or known situations on 3rd downs and really allowing Spags to get into all his designer stuff from a coverage standpoint and from a pressure standpoint. Like that's a world you don't want to live in against any defense, but especially against Spags in Kansas City. And so, yeah, I thought they did a good job on early downs and even really from the first drive of that game where Allen took the profit that was available. They got the run game going. They hit a shot. I thought throughout the game, they were just, and Allen even left some meat on the bone early on, or could have pushed the ball a little further. It could have gone for the intermediate or the deep shot, but he took the easy completion for 6 or 7 yards. The Bills really, throughout the majority of this game, offensively, stayed in control. They stayed on schedule. I liked what they did on the ground. Back-to-back run plays where the presentation is the same, but one is mid-zone weak and the next is duo. They got into the gap scheme stuff. The blast counter things were working, but they were doing it from different alignments, but still doing it out of heavy. I thought they had a good game plan for this one. And, even when the run started to fade a little bit in the second half, they were able to kind of make up for that with some chunk plays in the pass and, using tendency against Kansas City.
Yeah.
Just really kind of, playing into bigger personnel, lean into the tight ends, lean into the ground game, make things easy for Allen. And he didn't even really have to put on the cape. He just played within the offense and the game plan that they had.
And I hate to keep harping on this about Shakir, Kincaid, and the screen game. I know a lot of fans are sick of it, man, but it is the perfect complement to how teams defend Josh Allen and the Bills run game. And just simple stuff where it'll work against whatever blitz is coming or whatever pressure they think is coming. It's that easy button play of wide receiver and tight end screens. It helps the Bills minimize those negative plays. On the year in wide receiver and tight end screens for the Bills, they are second in yards per reception at 8.2 yards. Every time they throw a wide receiver or tight end screen, they're getting 8.2 yards per reception, 11 yards after catch per reception. That's 3rd overall. All right. And then first downs per target, they're 4th overall at 37.5%. The Chiefs knew it was coming. They still couldn't stop it. And not only that, the attention that they paid as a defense to Shakir, as we'll show, kind of opened up things for others, especially if we're talking our easy loan auto play of the game, that shot to Kincaid for the touchdown. Like, I will show you how the attention to Shakir in a high leverage moment opened up Kincaid for a touchdown.
Yeah, and I thought the Bills also did a good job of, getting Kincaid matched up on Tranquil. I mean, we'll see it on that easy loan auto sales play of the game. Saw it a couple times throughout the game as well, just getting the Chiefs into base and let's get some matchups and, with Kincaid against whatever linebacker we can for Kansas City, because that's advantage Bills and being able to work into Kincaid. That's where a lot of the mismatch creation is going to exist right now, especially with Palmer being out and what that does to the wide receiver group, but just leaning into Kincaid's skill set and getting him against, if you can get him consistently against a linebacker or a safety, that's advantage for the Bills. And man, like they started early in this game, found some chunk plays with him. Even some of the other tight ends, Kincaid, or the one nice one to Knox off the heavy look and the play action up the sideline. Jalen Watson bites, has to try and get back. He can't.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yep.
Yeah, just really nice for them kind of, leaning into who they are and tying it all together.
Right. And here's that sale concept that we always see thrown to Kincaid. The Bills hit it to Kincaid last year in the matchup against the Chiefs. Chiefs are ready for it. They kind of slow down Kincaid. They have a couple guys expanding the coverage right here. And so Allen took the easy play to Shakir, and he's rewarded on second and medium. Shakir converts that into a first down. Getting through your progression smoothly and confidently is one thing, but also when you have a play designed like this, where you have a vertical stretch, you have another vertical stretch here, a 3-level passing concept, and that ends with a possible check down to Shakir with all this space. That's a win. That's a very good design play and play call timing on this play. Easy decision for Josh. Very smart decision for Josh to move the chains.
Yeah, especially on, the first drive, 2nd and 6, like worst case scenario is you're going to be in 3rd and short here, but with how good Shakir is with the ball in his hands, where he is essentially a running back. I'm going to keep saying that with the ball in their hands, Khalil Shakir and Bucky Irving look like almost the same player. I'm going to continue to say that. That's a nice advantage for the Bills. And then again, with Allen, you're taking the free profit like he's done so much this year and really under Brady. Worst case scenario is it's going to be a 3rd and short, but because it's Shakir, he does Khalil Shakir things. And this is also the right read. Like Kansas City is sinking into coverage. They've got the vertical covered. They've got the sail on Kincaid covered. So let's check it down. Let Khalil Shakir do Khalil Shakir things in space. And he does. And he earns the first down like he does so much. And you talked about earlier with the numbers.
Yeah. I mean, space, numbers, those are things that an offense, that's what they try to dial up. And you see it again here, where you're just getting that quick little screen out to Kincaid in space. He has leverage on the number 3 defender right here, and then you get a hat on a hat. And again, does it pick up the first down? No, but it takes them from 2nd and long, 2nd and 7 or so, to 3rd and 2, or 3, and they're able to convert that on the next play with a Josh Allen designed run. And so getting it from those 2nd and long situations, whenever they arise, into these type of situations with 3rd and short, that's how you win against the Chiefs. That's how you win against Steve Spagnuolo.
Yes, and especially for this offense, like being able to stay on schedule and staying out of those known passing situations or those known true drop back type of situations. And for as much as I know a lot of people are like groaning about, like the bubbles and all those stuff around the line of scrimmage, football at the end of the day is numbers, angles, and space. And from a numbers, angles, and space perspective, this is the read. And this is an easy, 5-6 yards. Let's get it to 3rd and 1. And now we can kind of do whatever we want on 3rd and 1. And the defense has to account for so much in that scenario. So that's advantage Bills. You're playing the odds, you're playing the numbers, and you're playing the situation.
All right, let's move on to our easy loan auto sales. Play of the game, Dalton Kincaid, vertically getting down the field on the explosive play. Double China 7 here. Bills show shifts and motions prior to the snap to help uncover the coverage, but also to help with the pass protection. And you see the Bills settle into that 3-by-1 set, and they run this play all the time. 2 in routes or under routes by the outermost receiver, Samuel and Shakir running
those are the China parts of the double China.
And then you get the deep corner, which we know over the years, that's Kincaid's bread and butter when it comes to pushing the ball down the field. But it was a great job of Brady of getting the matchup they wanted and getting to that matchup. Kincaid versus Drew Tranquil, very smooth route by Kincaid there. Right as he makes that break after the little chop, you see him chop with his left hand. So he can't slow down the route, take speed off the route. And then it's just so smooth. It's so sudden that it causes Tranquil to trip, and it's an easy play for the touchdown.
Yeah, this one really is making it look easy, like with how, especially for Kincaid, like it's just the chop and then gets out of the break. It's so smooth and fluid. But you talked about it earlier, Shakir kind of opening things up for some other guys. Like you see Watson in on coverage on Samuel.
Yeah.
Yep. Look at the eyes.
In and out.
Yep. In
and out. Right.
Shakir.
In breaker here, this guy takes it. If this guy was a breakout, he's trapped by that guy.
They are paying him attention because he is Khalil Shakir. And now Khalil ends up going inside. But at that point, they've committed those 2 resources there. So that outside man jumps the in from Curtis Samuel. And at the end of the day, it all combines to have Dalton Kincaid essentially one-on-one with Drew Tranquil and no safety help over the top because your
Nope.
safety is in the middle of the field / shaded to the other side. You have manufactured a one-on-one with Dalton Kincaid and Drew Tranquil. And not even disrespect to Tranquil or highlighting him. Kincaid against pretty much any linebacker in this league one-on-one, especially on a vertical stemmed route like this, is advantage Kincaid every single day. If you can continue to get this look, you are going to spam that. You're going to trigger that. You are going to eat on this left, right, and center with Dalton Kincaid because this is what he's built for.
Yeah, just awesome stuff. Getting to this play, the Bills ran this later in the game as well, as we'll show you here in a second. But these are the type of plays that they're calculated deep shots. They're calculated explosive plays. When those moments arise, Josh has to hit it. And you see Kincaid create that separation. He is a guy that can create separation. We're going to see it later in this breakdown versus man. Like here, you're going to see it versus zone later. It's those calculated moments that they need to capitalize and be efficient in. And this was one of those plays leading to 6 points.
Absolutely. And that's why this play was our Easy Loan Auto Sales, making it look easy play of the game, sponsored, of course, by our friends at Easy Loan Auto Sales. Easy Loan Auto Sales is Western New York's premier buy here, pay here car dealership with locations in Buffalo and Lockport. Regardless of your credit history, they offer the fastest car buying experience around. Get approved and reserve your vehicle all from your phone. Start your approval at easyloanauto.com and you could be driving today.
Yeah, awesome play there from the Bills. And so we're going to keep this train rolling. When it came to the tight ends were huge in this game. 9 targets, 8 catches, 149 yards, 1 touchdown. Difference makers in the run game. Obviously, plays like that designed for them in the pass game, especially as we'll break down at the end, the Dawson Knox play, how that was set up off their zone toss runs the prior week. Just really good work from the staff at developing some of these plays. And so here is the very same play. But again, now you're moving guys around. Now, instead of Kincaid in the slot, you have Curtis Samuel. Kincaid is the tight end flex to the top of the screen. So that 3-by-1 set, same type of look. But look at how this route distribution kind of unfolds there. You're going to get Samuel. Watch him take the top off the defense. More importantly, take that inside hole runner as the Chiefs try to really disguise this coverage.
Yeah, this was a nice spin. I liked it from
dude.
Kansas City. Yeah.
He becomes your deep half. He's your other deep half. He's going to drop down here, become your pole runner in that, Tampa 2 type look. But Samuel's speed takes the top off the defense. You have the 2 under routes by Coleman and Shakir. But more importantly, you see Josh hit the top of his drop, get some really good time, work through his progressions. And then here is that window right here to Kincaid versus zone defenses versus that Tampa 2 type look. And you see Josh in that window hit Kincaid for the 47-yard gain.
Yeah,
same play. It's the same play.
Fair. I liked this spin from Kansas City so much that you highlighted this non-traditional Tampa spin. It's nice. But yeah, look at Samuel pull both deep half players and the pull runner. This isn't going to show up on the stat sheet. This isn't going to show up on the box score, but this is a route that pulls coverage and Kincaid's going to get the shine, and understandably so. But this is a huge shout out to Curtis Samuel for doing the dirty work and getting him clean. Shout out to the offensive line for giving Allen that time, and then
no doubt
hits Kincaid perfectly in stride. But all of these things combine, Samuel pulling the pole runner and the deep half guys, Allen just having a boatload of time. Look at Allen even gets off Kincaid initially, looks a little bit, sees him coming again. Oh, what a beautiful ball. Perfectly in stride,
Perfect.
Right at the face. Kincaid, all he has to do is put those mitts out and snatch it out of the air. And then because everybody got pulled vertical, there's nothing but space for Kincaid to hit for some run after catch once he gets the ball in his hands. He had nice piece with everything kind of coming together as we start to get into the zone toss piece of the film and how that tied into this game.
Yeah, last week I had to sit down with Connor McGovern. We broke down this play, and it's one they ran a bunch in the game against the Panthers. So as we, they talked about after the game, Dawson Knox specifically said in the locker room, hey, they saw that film. They saw that we ran this 15 times. All right. And so they built plays on it. So in the Panthers game, you see the 24-yard gain here on that zone toss run. Again, zone blocking, outside zone blocking. You're getting the ball out to Cook. You're getting to him quickly so he can make moves for big plays. And here's one of those big plays where he cuts it back for the touchdown. Well, in this game with the ball on the right hash, you see them get to it. And remember all these people complain, oh, Josh is showing, where the ball's going to go. There's videos made about that. And and how it's giving the play away. That's funny. Did that matter here? No, it didn't, because you're throwing, you're making it look like the outside zone's coming. And again, the flow and everything screams that it's a run, right? And so you're getting kind of these guys that commit, that boundary corner is committing, and then you're slipping tight ends up the seam and outside the numbers down the field. Really nice peel block right here by Connor McGovern to kind of secure the pocket right here. Nice work there. And just a really nice pocket and play call for an explosive 30-yard gain to Dawson Knox against the Chiefs.
Yeah, this one was nice. And you can really see how like these zone run schemes pair so well with the play action, because it's not necessarily like stand straight up and it's pass pro indicator, or kind of keep, forward and keep your head down a bit, and more of a run indicator. You get that horizontal movement, that flow, like you mentioned. So it creates a little bit more deception and some, what are they going to do? Is it run or is it pass? And you can see the commitment from the safety, number 6, Brian Cook, and then the corner, number 5, Jalen Watson. They're into the boundary. They are flying up. Knox gets by both of them. You've even got Hawes open a little bit in the seam if you want to pin that on him a little bit. Yeah, Tranquil gets committed. Bolton gets committed. The second and third levels are pot committed.
Look at Chenal, dude. Look at the fast flow by these guys, man. It's unreal.
They are selling out because, 1, the Bills' run game is a threat, and 2, they saw this a bunch last week against Carolina. Like, here comes the outside zone. Let's take care of it. Yes, literally, the second and third levels are all flowing to that spot to cut this run off and take care of it. There's Tranquil to the left, Bolton in the middle, Chenal on Hawes. We talked about Cook and Watson. Everybody gets caught up field. Knox is able to slip right by him. And good throw from Allen, too. Not letting this hang up too much to allow Watson to get back in, make a play, not sailing it over his head or kind of putting him into a toe tap situation. Pins it right on the 88. Watson pushes him out of bounds, and the Bills are able to move forward and capitalize from there. Just, again, leaning into this is the good side of you spamming certain looks over and over again. The downside is when you keep doing it. So, early on in that game, I think they ran a zone toss, and Bolton on like a first down, Bolton just shot it and created for a tackle for a loss on 7. And I created a 2nd and 14. You could see Bolton like inch, and McGovern tries to get to him and he just can't.
There's just no angle.
But Bolton's like 2 gaps over and he shoots it right away. So that can be the downside. But that's also a data gathering point where you say, they're really selling out for the outside zone. Oh.
You should run counter and it works, right?
Yeah,
and so
what happened when they started running counter? That's exactly it. And you know what they know, and they know that you know that they know, and it's just everybody knows A and B for each other. But do you call A when they're expecting A, or do you call A when they're expecting B, and vice versa? That's what they did with some of the counter looks, and that's what they did on that throw to Knox.
And this is why having an elite offensive line is awesome, because they can spam those plays. The defense knows it's coming, and they're still getting 5, 7, 11 yards on these runs that are calling 10 times a game. Eventually, yes, the coach on the defensive side of the ball will change, but then now you go to your counter. But keep running it until they stop them. Make them stop it. And there are times where, like, hey, the defense may stop it. They may, not the line doesn't block it up as good as it should be. Then you have a James Cook that can play above the scheme. And so there are many jabs that they can go to. But then once they get the defense to commit to stop the zone toss, they start running the counters, or they run the plays off, the play action off it. So I understand how fans and why fans get upset about spamming plays. And honestly, we should have seen this coming from the beginning of the season. And which is why, I had Sal ask Joe Brady about running plays multiple times in a row. And it's a league-wide trend, though. This is not just the Bills. The Bills are just better at it because they have Josh Allen. They have the elite offensive line. They have an elite running back. So they can, even if scheme doesn't work or it doesn't get blocked up or run the way that's drawn up on paper, they have guys that can play above the scheme to make it work. And then once the defense catches up, then you have the counters, and the Bills have plenty. Aaron Kromer, especially in the run game, has plenty of counters, as we see it week in and week out, that make it very difficult to defend the Bills offense.
I like how they've literally gotten to counter from these like outside zone pre-presentation. And so now it's like, okay, they're in this. Is it outside zone toss, or is it going to be like that blast counter or something else? Similar to how also they did in this game, but they've been doing this for years. Like that whole 3-by-1 look, and it's like, is it mid zone weak or is it duo? And when you've got receivers that are like Tyrell Shavers and Khalil Shakir and these guys who can block front side on duo or back side on mid zone weak, and you can do those same things from the same or those different things from the same presentation, this is where it all, and that's just purely run. That has nothing to do with like, now we're going to add a play action element into it, or now we're going to add, a straight drop back from under center element to it. And you start to build and stack. And again, it's all that chess match. And when you spam too much and it doesn't work, it's ugly and it sucks. But when you layer it accordingly, it's awesome. Same with, I don't want to make this comparison because I know everybody's still mad. The same thing with those jet sweeps and stuff on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. When it works, man, what a tendency breaker. Great call. When it's a fumble and it doesn't work, everybody's like, you got too cute and that sucks. And so it's just the chess match.
Well, you have
things to work at the right
time. The other
time.
part of that discussion, especially the jet stuff, is you have to throw them in there. Why?
Yeah,
because the Bills do it to manipulate the second level, and sometimes it's just eye candy. Sometimes it's just get the linebackers to bump.
But if you're not hitting it, no one's going to bump. They're not going to
respond to it. And that's what happened when you're flipping the script here. You're talking about the Bills and Chiefs game. A lot of the motions that the Chiefs were using, the Bills weren't really respecting it because the run game was almost non-existent. They weren't committing to it, and so you have to throw those in there. As awful as they can be at times, you have to show that it is a possibility. And then who knows? Some of those times, especially during the season, you saw, Elijah Moore, kind of get outside the perimeter on the perimeter for one of those type of plays. So yeah, it was a fun chess match in this game, and a good barometer for the Bills offense and defense, and more importantly, man, the defense. Like, hats off, great scheme, great game plan, great execution by the Bills defense.
I'm waiting for them to come out and get like housed by Miami this week, and it all comes crumbling now because we've gotten so high on it. But yeah, it was they've had Kansas City's number in the regular season for the past several years, and even in the playoffs. Like, games are always close. Like, Kansas City just happens to edge them out in the playoffs. I was really interested in this one to see, again, Kansas City was getting their dudes back, or had been getting their dudes back. They were starting to peak a little bit. The Bills were, again, came off great against Carolina, but faltered a bit before. I was really interested to see, I was kind of throwing the records out for this one, knowing where Kansas City was and where the Bills were. And the Bills did what they always do against Kansas City, which is not only play them tough, but even exceeded that a little bit from a game plan perspective and execution perspective. And they did that while missing a bunch of bodies, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I can't continue to really praise the game plan defensively enough and the execution enough, considering, just the tweaks and the game plan and the creativity and the execution, all of that coming while missing several of your horses on defense. And even, Bernard and Milano were back. Bernard's not healthy. Bernard's still playing banged up. He's trying to gut through stuff. And so even that, like, you've got guys playing who still aren't 100%, and you're missing bodies, all of that. The fact that I don't want to say threw caution to the wind, because that's not the right way to say it, verbalize, but the fact that they knew all that coming in and they were like, nope, we're not going to get conservative. We're still going to be creative. We're still going to dictate. We're still going to play the matchups. Oh, really, really encouraging, because that's the type of defense that wins in the playoffs. The matchup based, the dictation based, I keep mentioning him all the time, the Lou Anarumo type of defense, where you got to the playoffs against Cincinnati and you knew big game Lou had something cooked up for the Chiefs or the Bills or whoever they were playing. I'm very excited. I don't know if anyone can tell. I got me very hyped, especially because I've been down on the defense for a lot of the year.
Yeah,
this one got me pretty pumped, and I'm really excited to see what happens for really both sides of the ball going forward. And either way, really nice win for the Bills at home against Kansas City. We'll see if they play Kansas City again this year, and if it's in Buffalo, if it's in Kansas City. But as of now, it's nice to have that last time, at Highmark, at the Ralph, at Rich Stadium, whatever you call it. It's nice to have that. This last one is right now against Kansas City be a win for the Bills and the books. And it was nice to put a bow on that game. Erik, as we start to wind down here and say goodbye to everyone and let everybody go back to work or do whatever they're doing now, where's your head at going forward? Is it purely on Miami? Is it on something for the Bills? Is it bigger picture? Where's your head at going forward now for this Bills team?
No, I'm with you, man. I'm excited. That was a great matchup. Some good film. We saw some good layers and concepts and tweaks to things that they run, and so they showed you that they can, again, do it with scheme. They can do it with execution. They can do it in a big game against a good opponent. And so I think as we talked about coming out of the bye, I think they reprioritize some things. You're seeing some different coverages on the back end. You're seeing guys on the offense being moved around a little more, Samuel taking the top off the coverage,
Mhm.
and things like that. And it's opening up things for the offense. And so I'd like to see those new wrinkles. I'm happy about that. And I think they'll keep it rolling and keep those coming as the competition grows throughout the season.
Fingers crossed. And yeah, it's really good. And kind of my last little point with that, I agree with you. My last little point is something we talked about. Like I'm so gutted for Hoyt being down, but I'm slightly excited for who who fills that void. Like, do they fill that void, and how do they fill it? Like,
Yeah.
just with some of the things they did with Solomon and Dorian, like there's some potential fun going forward for this team. And as they continue to get healthier, at some point Daquan will be back, TJ Sanders will be back. Get him some time on task. We'll continue to kind of see what's going on for the rest of this season for the Buffalo Bills. No matter what happens, good or bad, positive or negative, we will have you covered here in the film room every single week. We appreciate you folks adjusting for us and with us on this early morning Wednesday edition. So thank you very much for jumping in. Those who watch live, if you haven't already, please drop a like on this video. Likes are the lifeblood of these streams. If you haven't already, please drop the like here. Even if you're watching post live, drop a like here on this video. Turn on notifications for the Cover One Film Room playlist here on YouTube. If you're listening on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, that's cool too. Please rate, review, and subscribe. No matter what your form or fashion of consumption comes in for these episodes, we greatly appreciate it. And if you would be so kind as to tell, family, friends, loved ones about the show, about the channel, the brand. Word of mouth is tremendously important to helping us to continue to get in front of more eyes and ears and grow accordingly. Thank you very much for tuning in, video-wise, audio-wise. Again, anything and everything. We're greatly appreciative of it and thankful for it. For myself, Anthony Prohaska, for Eric Turner, this has been another episode of the Cover One Film Room. We hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. We'll see you when we see you. Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.